Hi, I'm Katarzyna. I'm a resident of Benogan, and thank you to Peter for hosting this. Sarah McGuire is usually a spokesperson for, the Stop the Toxic Fire Ant program, and she speaks a lot about Sanford and the contamination event. Today, I'm speaking about what's happening in our local area as a local resident. I have to qualify who I am and who I am not. I am not an activist. I don't want to be here today. Being here today is costing me money and my time with my family. Everybody working on this and investigating this and arming themselves with information is doing it voluntarily on their own free time. This has caused a lot of time and energy and emotional investment to figure out what the heck is going on. And to be honest, I'm not political. I don't really follow politics. I'm just a common, reasonable person like most of you guys are, okay? And I saw the signs on the park and that there's fire ant treatment and paid no attention. I got the pamphlets and threw them out because they weren't addressed to me and I thought they were junk mail. So one day in February, we've got helicopters flying around our property. Just next slide. So look, you might have seen these floating around. They're brochures created by concerned residents that, hold on a second, there's something wrong here. There's another brochure, there's another one. So there's obviously a lot of concerned residents that people are not happy and asking questions. Next one. So if we play these videos, this is actually from my back patio. Those trees are 25 meters tall, so that helicopter is flying around 30 meters above my property. Pesticides dropped from the air. Now, I have to tell you something that 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with an incurable disease. My doctor said you have 6 months before you will be bound to a wheelchair if you don't accept treatment. I didn't think the treatment was right for me, so I went on a different path and I cleaned up my lifestyle. And after that, my daughter was diagnosed with a whole bunch of problems. And finally, my husband came with a lung condition, which was associated with the mosquito spray in Coomera, where we used to live. The doctor said, you need a biopsy, you should not be alive, I don't know how you got to my clinic. So we said, what do we do? He said, move. Because these pesticides feed molds, and you're allergic to mold. And if you continue living where you're living, you're going to die. That was Tuesday. We moved on Friday. We did all sorts of natural therapies. I'm not going to tell you that I found a cure. I've got, healing is multimodal, and look, I'm not in a wheelchair. And my husband is in the back, and he's breathing and walking. He can run faster than me still. But then we were aerial baited with pesticides, chemical pesticides, without any warning. My husband's blood oxygen level dropped to 90%. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but if you're in the hospital and your blood oxygen level drops to 96%, they don't let you leave the hospital. This is directly on day 4 of aerial baiting. Okay, well, I don't know. Is it related? I don't know. That's yet to be proved, I guess. We need all the evidence we can get. And then my daughter and I are now experiencing problems, medical problems, and I still didn't make the connection. And then my cat got sick. She had to have emergency surgery for uterus, infection in her uterus. These are all endocrine disruptors, these pesticides, these chemicals that they're using. So now I'm starting to make the connection, something's wrong here. Something's not right. We have to report these things. We have to get some medical tests. We have to do some investigations, and many people have been doing their own investigations. And then in March, shortly after the aerial baiting, I get a knock on the door, probably the 5th or 4th one, because the first couple times I treated the biosecurity officers like salesmen. No thank you, I'm not interested. If you come to my house, I will take you for a walk around my property. I have 21 fruit trees, an extensive veggie garden, and we pull weeds by hand on our acreage. Thanks, Cameron, by the way, for weed pulling. Okay, so pesticides on my property, no thank you. I'm not buying what you're selling, I'm not interested. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have a choice. And we have the authority, without your consent, to come on your property. Oh, is this true? No. I have medical conditions. I moved here. I poured my life savings into creating a healthy lifestyle for my family because our health depends on it. Not because I have a green thumb and I love hard labor in the garden. I don't even love doing these things for half the time. But our life literally depends on it. And we moved, we made all the changes, and now I've got a biosecurity officer telling me I have no choice in the matter, that they're coming to put chemical pesticides on my property. Well, I said, I have a reasonable excuse from the limited information that I had. I thought, surely just give me a fine, take me to court, I'll present it to the judge. This is not reasonable that you could just come on here. There were 2 big biosecurity officers with cameras and 10 ground crew. And I was home alone by myself. And I was told, this is happening today. We are baiting your property. Oh, no, you can't do this. I've worked way too hard to create this healthy environment for me and my family. Well, they mobilized themselves against my concerns. They ignored my reasonable grounds, and they said, this is happening, and they proceeded to bait my property. The whole time I followed them, I said, this is not right, no, I do not consent. We have to agree to disagree, they said, okay? I said, no, it's not okay. At no time did I concede that that was okay, and at no time did they give me the courtesy or the opportunity to have my reasonable grounds heard. Okay, so that happened. My property was baited. Okay, it happened. I don't know what my rights are. I'm just a common person, not really interested in this stuff. And this is a total inconvenience right now. But now I have to become a lawyer, apparently, and find out my rights. So I called a lawyer, and I said to my lawyer, this has just happened. What do I do? She said, that was a violation. Oh, really? Yes. And I will draft you a letter of demand to them so that they can't come on your property anymore, and you will have the opportunity to present your reasonable grounds, and if they dismiss that, then we will apply for an injunction. Okay, let's do it. So now I'm spending money on this. Not only am I spending time and my health, I'm now spending money on a lawyer to protect my rights, which were violated apparently on that day. So that has happened, and now biosecurity have given me the luxury to prove that their chemicals are safe. They want me to go and get water testing. I'll show you. We can go back and forth, but just going through a few slides, just go forward a little bit, Peter.
Next slide.
Yep, next slide. Next slide. This is what I want to show you. This is before December 2023. The aerial baited in February. This is after. You can see the oil slick on this. After the aerial baiting in August, I have lived on this property for 11 years. My water always looked like this. My dog used to swim in this water. We used to sit here in the summertime. This is rocks and sand. I have never in my decade of living here seen my water look like this. Now, some people will say it's chemical runoff, it's pesticides. Someone said it was inversion because of whatever. Maybe it is. I'm not a water specialist. But for 10 years it looked like that. And after the chemical treatments, it now looks like this. So don't you think it's reasonable to investigate? Why do I have to get water tests? Water tests cost $5,000, I got a quote. So I have to test that this is safe? Where's the monitoring of the program? Ongoing safety of what they're doing and the pesticides that they're putting out? Where is that? How is that my obligation? Okay? So that happened, and I have more to the story, because guess what? I had a visit from biosecurity and the police this afternoon, right before I got here. So I had sent the letter of demand. I said I have medical concerns and concerns about water contamination. They said, okay, provide evidence. And they also said in that letter to my lawyer, because I don't want this interaction. I don't want to deal with this, okay? So please deal with my lawyer. Please don't come to my house. If I lose and you will beat my property, I am no physical threat. Come on in. But first, I will have my due process, and I will try to keep you off my property because I'm seeing harm being done here. And my family is experiencing harm. So there has to be some kind of due process before you continue to do this on my property, okay? And in that letter, they responded to the letter, and in that letter they said, your client will no longer be contacted by us, and we will not visit your property unless we give you 7 days notice. Fine, great, then this is wonderful. They're not good. It's with the lawyers, it's not in my hands anymore. The law will decide what is fair. But they came today. Knock, knock, knock. Roger Morris, the compliance officer who wrote the letter, is at my front door. And I said, what are you doing here? You've been served with a legal notice. Why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. Go back to the lawyer. Communicate with her. We are here to treat your property unless you can provide reasonable grounds. Reasonable excuse. Oh, okay. I said, please go back, call whoever you need to call to make sure you're supposed to be here. I do have footage. Everything is recorded, and I will release that footage. It just happened this afternoon. Okay. So he went and made his phone call to see if he was supposed to be there. And I made my phone call to my lawyer as well. And I said, hey, this is happening right now. What should I do? She said, they're not supposed to be there. Tell them to leave your property. Okay, I'm covered. I just got my legal advice. So he came back. Okay, he confirmed he's allowed to be there. He's treating today unless I have a reasonable excuse. I said, yes, okay, I have a reasonable excuse. So I'm supposed to hand that over to you. You want my medical certificates? Okay, so please show me your authority to decide that my excuse is reasonable or it is not, and whether you will proceed with baiting today. Please show me in the legislation where you have that authority as a biosecurity officer. Well, he ratted off section 261 and some other sections that gives him consent to enter my property. Yes, it does, and you are here. And now you're asking me for evidence of my reasonable excuse. I've told you I have one. I've told you it's medical. I told you last time too when you came on the property, but you ignored that. So we're doing this again, and now you're asking for my evidence. So you're asking me to hand over my private medical information to you so you can decide in this moment whether you're going to go ahead with baiting my property. Yes. Okay, I will do that. I will comply. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I've got police at the bottom of the property, by the way. I will comply, but you have to show me that you have that authority. This went on for an hour. I can fast track because there's lots of speakers. At the end, he conceded he does not have the authority to decide whether my excuse is reasonable or not. And because it's a medical condition, there's a secure link that he will send me where I can submit my medical certificates to be decided. So for 1 hour, this biosecurity officer abused his power, trying to convince me that he has the authority to make the decision and to persuade me to give him that evidence. Later he says it's voluntary. And then later he says that decision doesn't fall on with him. So we are being fed outright lies, okay? And that's not fair. Because I don't want to be in a wheelchair, and I want my husband's lungs to be working properly, and I want my daughter to grow up and have children because she's young and she shouldn't have medical conditions at her age, okay? I am literally fighting for my family's health. So this is no joke. You don't just come on people's properties with police and say you have authority. Show me that authority. So that's what's happening in Benogan. And I'm not the only one. My friend's property was baited yesterday with police presence. And a lot of people have had police at their home whose reasonable excuses were rejected. And probably there's been some violations. So these need to be investigated. So, yes, I'd like to know the answer to that question. The question was, who has the authority? The Biosecurity Act is not clear. It says that a landowner can obstruct with a reasonable excuse. I was very clear. I am obstructing you today, and I have a reasonable excuse. And I asked for an hour, who has the authority to decide whether my excuse is reasonable? I'm not sure yet, but apparently I have a link. So that's my experience. Sanford has had their own with water contamination, which is pretty bad.